So I started off my illustrious drinking career as a true alcoholic. From the very first time I drank alcoholically. I took a little bit of every piece of alcohol I could get my hands on in my parents' basement from every bottle so they wouldn't see that it was gone, mixed it all into one, and drank it. I was drinking to get drunk for the very first time. And I got drunk and threw up all over my parents' carpet. And my dad was a career military man, very much a disciplinarian. And in the morning, when they discovered what I had done, he decided to take me for a run around the neighborhood. And after I had thrown up everything I had in my system, and he kept running me, I just would stop and dry heave and then keep running. And even with that kind of a brutal lesson that he wanted to teach me, I still loved alcohol. I still loved the effect. I loved getting away. I loved escape. I used to think that I had the choice, that drinking was my choice. I chose to drink and I could quit anytime I wanted to. All of my friends drank. The bar that we drank at was right across the street from my work. There was one morning where I had a moment of clarity. I was sitting on the porch and I remember looking around thinking, what am I doing? For a brief second, I was like, I don't want to do this. This isn't me. This is not what I want. Shortly after that, I was breaking up with my boyfriend at the time, and a friend suggested I go do this course in Wickenburg, Arizona, called Survivors, and it was going to help me get in touch with myself and what I wanted and get through this breakup. And I got to the place, and I had a big jug of wine, and I realized that I was in a rehab center. My friend didn't tell me that it was in a rehab center. So it was very tricky, but it worked. I went to my first AA meeting in Arizona, and I didn't relate with anybody in the meeting, or at least I thought I didn't relate with anybody in the meeting, based on, they were all 30 years older than me, men, and really rough looking, and but softies inside. And when I heard their stories, I started to get little pieces that I thought, oh my God, that's me. Oh my gosh, I'm just like that. I do that too. And that was my first AA meeting. I left from that meeting, I left from Arizona, went back to Colorado, and then that's when I truly realized I was an alcoholic, because up until that point, I thought I could quit anytime I wanted. And when I wanted to quit, I found out I couldn't quit anytime I wanted. I was on my face begging God, please don't let me go to the bar. Please God, please don't let me pick up a drink. I couldn't quit, and I didn't realize it until I wanted to quit. But with God's help, with the help of my friends, going to AA, I started going to Celebrate Recovery, another alcoholics gathering. And with all that, I made it through minute by minute. And I started to become aware of what alcoholism is. The big book talks about being armed with the facts. And that was huge for me. The more I realized an alcoholic is someone who experiences the phenomenon of craving, and that was me. I had the phenomenon of craving. There were times where I could just have one drink and go home, but that was rare and few and far in between. But that was tricky, because I could do it. That was the cunning and baffling and insidiousness of the disease, trying to say, no, you're not an alcoholic. And the first party I went to through AA, I remember going around and seeing people laughing and people smiling and people having fun. And instinctively, I was looking for the keg. and it was nowhere. And I remember being shocked, like, this is it.
Yeah.
People are having fun, and there is no alcohol here. And that was the beginning of it. That was like when God just shined a little bit of light on my bleak situation of trying to get sober and telling me it's going to be okay. I've got you. I've got you. When I found out my dad had cancer, I was, almost a year sober. And I was able to show up for my dad and be there through the dying process with my dad and my mom. And there was beautiful gifts that came from that, and it was also the hardest thing ever. And I would not have been able to experience any of that had I been drinking. And even down to the timing. What a sweet God that is. That gets me sober right before this huge life process of walking through death with my father, so that I could be there for him and for my mom. So fast forward 14 years later, I love my life. I have so much fun. Being social with other people who are sober is huge. It was hard in the beginning, and I didn't think I could do it, and I didn't want to do it. I wanted to hide.
Yeah.
But the more I did it, the more I started living life, and the more I hid, the more I realized I'm not going to stay sober this way because I want to have fun, and hiding is no fun.
I want to have a life.
I want to have a life. Yeah. I do realize the things that kept me from wanting to be present. So resentment is resent, and what that means is to re-feel. So it's anything that, when you see somebody that you have a resentment towards, it's like,
yeah.
It could be institution places, I had a resentment towards the institution of marriage. I had to work through that. I'm happily married today. I worked through that resentment. I had, places that I resented and that I couldn't go to because I had so much anger when I would go there. Now I can go there and I don't have anger at all. I can live a happy, joyous, and free, full life. I couldn't say anything for 3 months. I couldn't even say my name in the beginning. I was crying. I was just weeping. I would sit there and shake and weep. And the women never judged me. They never made me feel less than. They said, me too. And they loved me. And it was, times like that where people just had patience with me, and I would just sit and listen and feel, because I was feeling feelings that I hadn't felt in 33 years.
Right.
I had pushed them down with alcohol and drugs
we
and
didn't
whatever.
want to feel those feelings.
Exactly. I did whatever it took not to feel those feelings. So when I stopped drinking and I stopped using my numbing agent, the feelings started coming up. And thank God, that the feelings came up, because I could have kept going and not been able to feel those feelings. I know people who didn't quit drinking when I quit drinking, and they're numb, and the feelings are gone. You get hardened, and I didn't want to be hard.